you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Christine Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers. Welcome back, everybody. Many of us have heard that we will rise or fall to the levels of our systems, and that systems can be like gasoline, ultimate accelerators that lead to disproportionate growth. But truthfully, while I believe business growth is elegantly simple, getting this to actually create the results is sometimes an enormous mystery and a gap many don't successfully leap on their own. But there are incredible people that can help you get that disproportionate growth. And I'm super excited to bring our guest today, somebody who I've collaborated with, been friends with for quite a few years, and he is a master and his company is exceptional at this. So please give a very warm welcome to our guest today. This is Divian Mistry. Super excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Christine. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and share what we have to talk about today.
I'm excited to have this conversation because we've been talking about having it for quite a while. So let's kick us off at the very beginning. How do and what do we do to actually trigger the business growth? What do you think is the simple place to start?
Great question. Thank you for asking it. So I think there's three main areas you've got to focus on. And you're saying trigger the growth of the business. It depends where the business is at in terms of what's going to trigger the most amount of growth. And it's very simple. And you may have already heard these three things before. You need three things to grow the business in terms of more clients. Number one is traffic. You need to get more people to see your stuff. Number two is conversion, getting more people to either have conversations with you or opt in for your lead magnet or come to your webinar or whatever your conversion mechanism looks like. And number three, which is probably the least utilized out of all of them, is following up with them, because only 1-3% of people are ready to buy right now, today, here, if they feel like you are the best solution for them. But what about the other 97%? We're not following up. We're kind of losing a ton of revenue. So where's the best place to start? It depends on where your business is at. You have to analyze this. Like, do you have traffic coming in? Do you have a good conversion mechanism? And do you have follow-up? And I always say start with the best place to start is to analyze your traffic. If you don't have traffic coming in or you don't have the right traffic coming in, start there. If you analyze the data and you see that you do have the right traffic, then focus on the conversion. And if you have the right conversion mechanism but you're not following up, start there. But all of what I've just said comes down to one main thing, which initially when I started in business, this used to surprise me, but now it doesn't, is it all comes down to tracking your data. And what doesn't surprise me anymore is how often businesses don't track their data. We often work with multi-7-figure, sometimes 8-figure businesses, and they don't have the basic data to understand where's the problem, where's the most leverage within the business to scale it up. And so that's where I'd suggest starting. Always get the data, because the data is going to tell you the story of where you should be focusing most of your effort to be able to create a disproportional growth. And let me give an example of this. We had a client last year. They're still a client. They haven't just stopped. And we generated £684,000. That's actually a conservative number. They have a franchise model, and they got 3 locations who didn't provide us with certain bits of data. But just off the locations they own, which is half the business, we generate £684,000 of new revenue. That's not reoccurring revenue. That's brand new leads coming in, converted into clients. And the number, as I said before, the number one thing that they didn't have is clear data of exactly where the most leverage was within their business. So we came in and implemented, added analytics at different stages to understand where they're at. And they went from a kind of, with their previous agency, they went from this kind of approach of let's just try everything, just splat a bit here, a bit there, a bit everywhere, which was getting them some leads coming in. So we went very hyper-focused and found the bits that weren't working and leverage those to create better results. And it's usually in the nuances of the marketing that creates the most amount of leverage. So you got to be really good at that data and figuring out where the leverage really lies within your specific business.
I'm super impressed that we start here because I think you're right. So often we think small and we don't think like we need that what makes great businesses great, which is start with data. What is the real numbers? Don't run simply on gut instinct. You have to look at the numbers. And I think that many small businesses and the businesses I personally support are typically in that first million. They don't even realize that data should be part of the equation. But when you understand what you have, you're able to look at incremental improvement. And it's not a game of noise, guys. It's a game of effectiveness. And what your success story really shows is if you understand the pivot point, what's good and what could be amplified, guess what? You have exponential, which you say, disproportionate levels of growth. And my friends, let's make the easy stuff easy. Don't make the hard stuff unnecessarily hard. So when you're working with someone, we've heard this term 80-20 and how to really focus on the thing that's working rather than trying to fix everything at the same time. So for you, what is that first place that you're looking for to see how to win quickly? Because we're all impatient and we want to win, but we don't have a lot of runway. We're all like, ooh, get this yesterday. Where do you start? What is the philosophy that you take so that you can leverage things like what the CEO, Stephen Bartlett, does in the Diary of the CEO? He's really good at this, but you do the same thing for your clients.
Yeah, so we've got to figure out where this, so for the benefits of those listening, in case you don't know what the 80-20 rule is 20% of your effort creates 80% of the result. So 20% of your clients are likely producing 80% of your revenue. 20% of your leads are creating 80% of the result for your business. So that's the goal, is to find that 20-80. And the way Stephen Bartlett does this, and then I'll segue into what we do as well, is on his podcast, he actually has a team who produces over 100, I think it's more like 200 thumbnails for every single podcast episode, because they're testing tiny little, like, if I have my hand here versus like this, like what difference does that make in the results? Now, you have to be very careful with this in that you don't go and start testing nuances that are not effective for your business at the stage that you're at. Of course, Stephen has tons and tons and tons of people viewing his podcast. So at that stage, the nuances make incremental differences that make a big difference for him. But you might not be at that level, and most of our clients are not at that level. So where do we start? We start looking at them three core areas that we spoke about. And actually, most of the time, what I find actually with our clients is the majority of them have is actually the third stage of this process, which is the follow-up. The majority of our clients, that's actually where they need the most help or have the most leverage at the beginning, because our clients are not starting out from scratch most of the time. They've built a business to a certain stage, and often they've got a database of clients or potential clients, people they've served, and they're doing nothing with that. Mm-hmm. They're not emailing them, they're not contacting them, they're waiting for them to come in. They don't have, and we kind of sometimes go beyond marketing as well. They don't have continuity programs. So I'll give you an example. We work with a IV drip company, a wellness company, and they're brilliant at what they do. He is like one of the best at what he does in the UK. And he has a database of about 1,800 people who have all bought something from him. 1,800 people who all bought, didn't send a single email out until we came into the picture. And so what we did is we kind of siphoned out what are the best products that he's got, and then we started sending emails out regularly. And he, the reason he brought us on is he upgraded from a small two or three birth kind of scenario where he could serve 3 people at a time to a location that had probably can serve about 6 to 8 people at a time. So obviously capacity was only at 30%. So through this process of emailing previous clients, we helped him to, I think when I last spoke to him it was actually last week I spoke to him, he was at about 50 to 60% capacity, and that's since about November that we've helped him get from 30 to 50, 60% capacity. And that was, we were doing the email marketing side of the process there. So that's where I find most people, most businesses find leverage in that on the level that we're serving them. But other businesses, they might have a conversion mechanism issue. So for example, a lot of people have websites where they have one call to action of just give me a call. Well, that's great for people who are in big amounts of pain. You know, my back is absolutely killing me. Can you as a chiropractor fix it right now, today, here, because I literally can't move? That's great for them people. But what if you sometimes have back problems? What if you want to be more proactive, but you haven't decided which chiropractor you're going to go with? Is there some resource there to get onto the database? Is there a way of me having some sort of consultation? So there are a couple of examples, but what we start with is we look at where is the biggest leverage that we can utilize to get more clients immediately or as quickly as possible with clients. Because ultimately, marketing only matters if it turns into money. Like, nobody's doing this for fun. You know, you might have fun doing it, but no one's doing it for fun.
That's right.
We're doing it to make money. So it's got to turn into money. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter.
It's just noise. And we've said that before. Guys, marketing has one job: effectiveness. If it's not driving effectiveness towards revenue, it is simply crap. Like, let's just be honest and call a spade. And I think I love what you're saying, because so often, and I know we fall into the trap, guys, this is not a new problem for a business. This is an ongoing problem for business. All of us have leads. All of us have an opportunity. All of us have past clients that we could win business with if we simply did a better job at effectively talking about serving, supporting, and offering. And the follow through. Gosh, I think the stat I read was 80% of the stuff we have, we don't even do anything with. What a golden opportunity.
Yes, it's. I think the follow up is one of the biggest things. I'll just give you some data actually, because I looked at it last week. With that particular client, we have an email open rate now of 42, around on average 42% of the people on the database open his emails. Now, of course, I know within that there's Apple privacy open, so it probably isn't exactly 42%, but there is that's a decent number of people looking at his emails regularly, booking in, wanting to take up his services that weren't seeing that before. Out of 1,800 people, 40%. I don't know the maths off the top of my head. I'm not going to do it in my head, but that's a decent number of people off the top of my head who can who are seeing his message that weren't seeing it previously, and are able to then engage with his offering and engage with re-engage actually. The other thing that I was just explaining a moment ago, which I touched upon, is sometimes we also come in and help the client to understand what offers should be in place, because sometimes clients don't have continuity offers. So with this client as well, when we came in, I said your number one leverage point is we went through the data and we had a look at how, when you initially do a blood test, that's the first point that people enter into his when they come to him, they do a blood test, because he's very big on data as well. He looks at all the data and goes, here's what treatment you should be having. And off the back of that, he says, here's the treatments. And usually what happens when we looked at the data, people come for 2 or 3 sessions and then they drop off. And I said to him straight away, one thing you need to do is create a continuity program where they're paying every month, which is what will prompt them to come in every month, which will be better for their health, so you're serving them, and it will be better for you because they continue to come in. Instead of what happens is, let's say they come in February, well, at the start of the year, they have a blood test, they follow up for a couple of months, and then they drop off. They have a full intention of continuing, but they don't always continue because life happens and they kind of go, oh, I'll go next week instead of this week. And then 6 to 12 months later, inevitably, it's cold, it's winter, something they get stressed, something happens. And these are often his clients are high performers, so CEOs, people who need to perform, and something triggers and then they come back to him. And I'm like, well, let's put a continuity in place, and that will raise your revenue because you've got that consistent revenue. and it serves the client better as well. So sometimes we jump in and we help people with that because that is also another point at which you can create a lot of leverage in the business and create a lot more revenue coming in the business.
So would it be fair to say that for you, when you first engage with a client, you're looking for the fastest win and everybody's got somewhere to start?
Correct. Yes, 100%. Yeah. We're looking for the fastest win and everybody's got somewhere to start. We do have some clients, earlier stage businesses. Generally, we deal with seven-figure, multi-seven-figure businesses, but sometimes we get clients who are earlier. And their fastest win is getting more traffic to their web presence, whatever that might look like, whether it's a landing page, whether it's a website. Often they need to up-level their website first before we drive the traffic, but that's often where we start with them. And one of our philosophies actually as a business is we're not going to sell a package just to fulfill the fact that we've said you need this thing. So I've actually turned clients away. Let me give you an example. I've turned clients away because, for example, when we do SEO, we know the level of activity needed, search engine optimization, level of activity needed to actually start getting decent traffic coming in within 6 to 12 months. And there are clients who've come to me and said, that's too much of a budget, I can't afford that. And I've said to you then, well, then go and do something else. Because ultimately, if you come on board and have a smaller package with us, you're not going to get results in 6 to 12 months. In which case, I'm not serving you. And you're going to be asking me, where's my return on investment? And we'll come back to this conversation to say, you wanted a package that didn't allow us to do the full breadth of what we need to do. So we're very much in the camp of, we want to go out there and get you lots of exposure, not a small amount, because lots of exposure to the right people is what's going to bring you the traffic that will turn into your potential clients.
It's so important that we lead that and we be the barometer and said, can I meet your expectations? Yes, if you're willing to play this level of support. And guys, never ever hesitate to defer, redirect clients that are not ready for where you are and what you do. So I want to ask you this because I love asking all of my guests this. What's working for you in your business right now to win new business in the current economy?
Yeah, I've always found, this is not just now, but it's the way that I've won business for a very long time, for many, many, many years. In order to win business, you can't just drive the traffic. What you have to do is create an environment where people can see the value you have to offer. And that's different for each person. But for me personally, that's about talking. So for me, running a webinar, being on a podcast, having a conversation in a room with somebody, or what was the final one? I was going to say speaking from stage. That was one. Or a pre-recorded video. They're the ways that I best engage with my audience or the people coming into my audience to help them to understand how we operate, who I am, what my values are, what my unique point of view is when it comes to marketing. And from that, people start to know, like, and trust me and us as a brand, and then want to move forward. So I've always found that webinars in particular have been one of the best ways that we have brought people in. We're running one next week, which will be exciting. A brand new one, actually, in a particular industry. That's always been one of the best ways of me engaging with people is webinars.
Experiences matter. Experiences matter. People are looking for, I would say real presence, especially in the way the digital landscape is going, where so much of it is, I don't know if it's true. You can't not be true when you're in a lived experience. So I love that you're doing that. And I know you do a great job. And I think the work you do with your clients, I said we've been friends for quite a few years, is exceptional. So where do people find you? How do they connect you? How do they learn more about Polestar Growth Partners?
Sure. So we've sent a link to an opt-in, a free video that I've got that you can share, which I'm sure you've got in the podcast. But you can find me mainly on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you just type my LinkedIn, which I'll, off the top of my head, it was / Divian Mistry, I believe. LinkedIn, yeah, Divian Mistry on LinkedIn. You'll find me on there. And Facebook is probably the other place that I'm on, and you can quite easily just type in my name and find me on there and follow all the things that I'm doing. And from there, you can be in contact with us, or you can go to our website, polestargrowthpartners.com. And if you're looking for help, book a call on there. There's a big yellow button, book a call, and we can have a conversation.
Guys, I love this. I love the work that Divian does. And I want you to be thinking here where we started the conversation. It is about what can you do with the data you have to know where to focus that really worthwhile money to get disproportionate growth. Depending on the level of your business, depending on what you're already doing, you either need, he said, traffic qualified. Sometimes the biggest issue is we're not getting in front of enough eyeballs. It's not all eyeballs that matter, men and women. It is about eyeballs that are your eyeballs. Then it is about what do you do to lead them to an offer? How do you actually move the offer to a yes or no? Guys, we're all about decision making. And then finally, it is about if the answer isn't yes now, how do you support and not just follow up, but follow through? Because so many business opportunities exist in your known circle. It's already in front of you, but you need to extract the data, do the work, and get involved. And that's why I think what you do at Polestar Growth Partners is super important. One final thought for you is if you had one win to do today, what should they do today to start the ball rolling?
One thing that they could do today is start the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Implement tracking your data, because without data you can't make decisions, and without decisions you can't accelerate your business.
Okay, guys, so if you want to run your business like a business, you want to be rewarded like a business, you want to start looking at your data and start having conversations with Divian and myself to say, what data do I need to be mining? Now, once I have it, what do I do with it? Thank you for being our guest today, guys. Go do something great. Your next client is right in front of you. It's up to you to lead them to an opportunity to serve. It's a fit, and get that big win. Thanks for being here, Divian. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit christinecampbellrapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all